Have you ever wondered about the greatest riddle in the universe? Have you ever thought about the origin of God? If he has an origin, where did it all begin? Today we will explore the limits of science and faith, diving into a question that has puzzled humanity for centuries. Prepare to discover secrets that can change your understanding of the universe. Before we start, sign up on the channel, leave your like and comment on the next topic you would like to see here. Are you ready for this journey of discovery? In time immemorial, before forms were defined or light existed, there was a presence, God, moving over the vastness of deep darkness. On the primordial waters, he declared with a voice that echoes through the ages, "Let there be light." And the light came forth, separating itself from darkness and revealing the immense power of God. However, a central theological question remains: what is the origin of God? Before heaven and earth existed, when there was nothing else, God was already there, sovereign in his infinite majesty. He brought light from the shadows, imposed order on chaos, and created harmony from the whirlwind. But the question remains, where did God come from? Some believe that God shaped the world 6,000 years ago in 6 days, but by adopting a more profound and questioning philosophical stance, we are confronted with an inevitable doubt. What is the origin of God? And by understanding this, how can we understand the performance of a spiritual being in a material universe? If we believe that God created the universe, the inevitable question is, who created God? And so we find ourselves in an endless cycle of questioning. Who created God, and who originated the creator of God? The search for answers seems endless, challenging our rationality and pushing us to explore what is seemingly unfathomable, diving deeper into the question, who created the creator? This questioning leads us to contemplate the idea of a created God, which in itself is fascinating. This reflection brings up a crucial point. Belief in God as the creator is fundamental to our understanding of the world. However, the question is intriguing because it proposes a more consistent explanation. The idea that something can spontaneously arise from nothing is impossible. If we agree that nothing can emerge from the absolute void, we come to a profound conclusion. Something must be eternal and always have existed. After all, if we rule out the possibility that something may arise from nothing, and given that we are here as thinking beings, it is inevitable that something or someone has always existed. The notion of an eternal existence is essential to understanding the mystery of creation. Our knowledge of the physical world often leads us to question the possibility of an eternal existence, especially since the 1930s, with the widespread acceptance of the Big Bang theory. This model has revolutionized our perception of the universe, suggesting that the cosmos we know is only a temporary phase in a continuous cycle of cosmic events. When we analyze the evidence, we see that the universe is constantly changing, with its energy being gradually dissipated. The well-known second law of thermodynamics states that energy degrades over time. The stars lose their strength, and the expansion of the universe continues to accelerate, extending beyond our comprehension. This leads us to the conclusion that the physical universe as we know it cannot be eternal. And then the fundamental question arises: what exists eternally must be radically different from what we observe today. The original cause, the essence of everything, must transcend our present understanding. This challenges us to explore the true nature of this mystery that goes beyond our material universe. Considering the idea of something eternal may be difficult to accept, but it offers an interesting perspective. Imagine that everything we perceive as contingent reality, that is, things that could or could not exist, are only temporary manifestations. Even the most solid objects, like the chair in front of you, at some point were just possibilities, oscillating between existing and not existing. These objects are transient and will inevitably wear out. The truth is that such entities cannot justify their very existence. They are connected in a chain of interdependent contingencies like dominoes. At some point, it is necessary to recognize the existence of something fundamental, something that is radically different from everything we try to explain. When it comes to God, the Christian, Jewish, and Islamic traditions agree that he is eternal. Therefore, the question about God's origin by definition does not apply to him. Questioning this implies assuming that everything was created, which brings us back to the original dilemma. The ancient Greek philosophers also discussed this question, and that is why the Gospel of John begins with, "In the beginning it was the Word." This phrase leads us to think about all things which have their origin in something eternal and transcendent, something beyond our comprehension, something that existed before anything else. The Greeks distinguished between what is created and what exists by itself. Essentially, this discussion seeks to understand if there is something or someone who never had a beginning. For Christians, this entity is God, and this belief is fundamental to their faith. The question, who created God, may seem relevant to some, but I would suggest that it is not applicable. For those who believe that the universe is the creator of everything, an intriguing question arises. Who created the creator of the universe? This question often challenges the mind and is debated by many scientists. In a conversation with a group of scientists, a physicist raised a question about the logic of the Trinity, specifically about how Jesus can be both God and man. He asked how this could be explained. The answer started with a simple question: what is consciousness? After a brief reflection, the physicist admitted that he was not sure about the nature of consciousness. Then came a second question: what is energy? The physicist recognized that, although he could measure energy, he did not fully understand its essence. The conversation continued. Do you believe in the existence of consciousness? The physical answered yes. And in energy? Again, the answer was yes. The conclusion was that it is possible to believe in something even without fully understanding its nature, a characteristic of a critical thinker. The physicist, initially hesitant to be labeled, realized the irony of being about to apply the same label to his interlocutor by questioning the nature of energy, light, gravity, and consciousness. These mysteries may all be related to the idea of God. The question of who created God is not as complex as it seems. God is described as an eternal and out-of-time being. As Keith Ward suggests, in God, chance and necessity cannot generate a reality that transcends space and time totally, being self-existent. This means that God is beyond the notions of beginning and end. Everything that begins to exist needs a cause. Nothing can simply arise from nowhere. However, something that is eternal and timeless does not fit this logic and does not need a cause. Even atheist thinkers like Daniel Dennett recognize that if there are eternal truths, such as numbers or mathematical objects, they do not require a cause because they were never created. The concept of God captures the idea of an eternal and self-existent being, a fundamental need. For this reason, God has no cause, for he exists by himself. Describing God as the uncreated creator, who is beyond all constraints of time and space, makes the question about who created this creator similar to questioning the sound of silence or the actions of nothingness. When we ask who created the creator of the universe, we are applying a reasoning that does not apply to him. This is essential to understand. Christians believe in a God who was not created, while some atheists suggest other explanations, such as the idea of a multiverse generator or a quantum field that creates universes spontaneously. These ideas suggest that, on some level, the universe is also seen as something uncreated. Therefore, regardless of the vision, there is the recognition of an uncreated creator. Now, advancing in the discussion from the origin of the universe to the interaction of the spiritual essence of God with the material world, the universal belief in an uncreated creator is reinforced. The challenge, then, is to understand how this creator interacts with our continuum of time, space, and matter. These three elements, time, space, and matter, are interdependent and arise together. If there were space without time, where would it be? And if there was matter in space but no time, when would it exist? They are inseparable and coexist together. The Bible sums up this truth in just 10 words. At the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thus, time and space emerged together with matter. These three components form a fundamental trinity. Time is composed of past, present, and future. Space expands in length, width, and height. Matter exists in solid, liquid, and gaseous forms. This trinity was created instantly by a God who transcends it, being free from any temporal limitation. If God were limited by time, he would not be truly divine, for he would be subject to his own creation. Just as the creator of a computer is not trapped inside the machine, manipulating its components, so God, who created the universe, is not confined to his own works. He transcends, permeates, and exists beyond the universe without being influenced by it. As for the idea that a spiritual force cannot influence physical matter, important questions arise. How do we explain emotions like love, hate, envy, jealousy, and rationality? If our brain is just a random set of chemical compounds that evolved over billions of years, how can we trust our reasoning or moral perception? The question of God's origin presupposes a limitation that does not exist in God. The God I worship is beyond time and space. Even as I try to understand him with my three-dimensional mind, he remains infinitely lovely. That's what fascinates me. He is beyond our comprehension, and that's why I love him. This resonates with the idea that he is the Holy of Hills and the Staff, indicating that God is not restricted to any place or form. His presence is omnipresent and overcomes all barriers. In the context of the debate about God's origin, the question of his having arisen out of nothing was raised. A mathematician approached this idea with logic. To say that God came out of nothing simply makes no sense. We must be rational. The analysis suggested that God did not come from anywhere, for there was no place where he could have come or where he could go. God did not come from anywhere, and there was no physical space for his existence. He created a foothold where before there was nothing. When we examine the book of Genesis, chapters 1, 26 and 27, we see that God suspended the world in emptiness and existed beyond it. With the hammer of his will and the anvil of his omnipotence, God has shaped creation. Sparks came, and with a gesture of his hands, he threw them into the cosmos, adorning the heavens with stars. Without any opposition, for there was no one who could question him, God declared, "This is good." He also gave Christ a name above all names, that every knee may bend to the name of Jesus, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confesses that Jesus Christ is Lord, for the glory of God the Father. It is important to remember that questions about the origin of God and the nature of creation are deep reflections that have puzzled mankind for ages. Regardless of individual beliefs, one thing is clear: our ability to fully understand the truth about God and the universe is naturally limited. The idea of an uncreated creator, a God who transcends time, space, and matter, challenges our understanding, but also reminds us of the vastness of the unknown. Despite the questions that may arise, since God is beyond our comprehension, we must always remember the clear evidence of his existence in all creation. The detailed drawing of each leaf, the immense starry sky at night, and the perfect cycle of seasons reveal a creator who not only plans but sustains and animates the universe with unmatched precision. Each element of nature, in a harmonious and eloquent way, praises God, inviting us to reflect on his greatness and the divine care in every detail. May this vision of creation strengthen our faith and renew our admiration for the Creator, strengthening our confidence in his constant and loving presence. We conclude this day of reflection with a renewed sense of connection to the greatness of God, revealed in every detail of creation. This is just the beginning of our quest for understanding and connection with the divine. If this reflection touched your heart or changed your view on God and the universe, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share this video. Your participation is fundamental for us to continue this journey together. Leave your comment on how this reflection has impacted you. Each interaction helps spread this message of faith and discovery. Until the next video, and may God bless you all.